Hello, everyone. Good evening. All right. Um, I actually sent a video earlier, which very many of you have already acknowledged. That's a good one. All right. So, quickly, I'm going to do a quick introduction to what you need to put in place for data analysis, right? And the first language you want to learn is Python. All these things are quite simple with projects, right? So, the best way to learn a programming language is to begin with. Um, Understanding that language with projects, right? You do not just learn in the dark, right? You try your hands on what it is that you've got. Okay, so real quick, we're going to be learning a few things, right? And let me just make a list of that so that you follow as I walk you through it quickly. Okay, so I want to use the markdown space here. All right, so the first thing we are going to do as this loads, first thing we're going to do is to download the Visual Studio Code. Some of you have downloaded it to your phones already. But then the one you have downloaded to the phone is because you are still in camp and then you may not be able to access your laptop. But as soon as you're done from camp, please pick up your laptop, download that, right? So it's quite simple. You go to your browser, right? There you type Visual Studio Code, right? Once you type that, this pops up. You click on it. Okay, so it's here. You just download. You can just quickly go here and download, right? And it will download. Once that is done, you execute the file, right? From here, you execute the file. That's a simple thing anybody can do. Now, the next thing you're going to do is to download Python, right? So you just type Python to the space .org, python.org, right? To this space, you enter it and download the latest version, right? So you check downloads, right? That is shown here already. Download the latest version for Windows, right? Just click here if you're working with Windows. Else, you click on the um, operating system, your Mac OS, Linux, Unix, whichever you're using. Please kindly download with respect to that, and you'll be fine. So once you're done downloading and executing every single thing, right? The next thing you're going to do is to go to your command prompt. So you search down here, type command prompt to be sure that your Python was successfully downloaded and installed. You could quickly just type in Python, right space, dash dash version to look up which one is here. So you see, because we've successfully installed, downloaded, and executed the file here, we have Python 3.12, which is the latest for now, as at when this video is being recorded. Okay, so that's it. With this, you are sure that you have this installed. So the next is to link your Py your to link Python to your Visual Studio Code, because that's of course where you're going to be working. All right, so I've done everything already. We have a sample work here for a class we just took. All right, so for you, let's shut this down. You may want to create a folder. You want to create a folder. You create a folder. Let's say new folder here. You could title it um what do we call it? Just whatever name you want to use. Um, data uh, data analysis. Let's call the folder data analysis. So You right click on this folder and open it with Visual Studio Code, right? So once that is done, it brings you to this interface where you have to create a new file. As I've talked about the features on uh, the the Visual Studio Code, right? We have the file, we have the edit, we have the selection, we have the view. You click on edit, you have a couple of, it's toggle on it, you have a couple of other features down there: undo, redo, cut, copy, paste, find, replace, find files, replace files, toggle line comments, toggle back, okay, all these things, emit, expand, abbreviation. You are going to see how to use all those with time, right? But most of those ones are quite friendly. Expand selection, shrink selection, copy, all these are things you may have to use with time. You may have a need of those, right? Command plates, open view, appearance, editor layout, explorer, search, source control, run, extensions, all the things you have here is what you have in here. Um, when you toggle on the view, go, you have a couple of other things that you will see: start, run without debugging, all these are features you see. So one of the things you're going to do is, if you just download your Visual Studio Code, the first thing I always tell you to do is what to install to get them. This is an extension, right? An extension feature. You have to download or install rather a couple of other extensions, right? Like the first for me is Live Server, right? That adds your viewing what you do on the browser. So you click on that. It's quite simple. Once you click here, it will install. Right. The next thing is, because you have to install Python, right? So you just type Python to it and then install it, right? It will auto suggest you. It's an input space, so once you click, it's meant to auto suggest, right? And you have options where you have to download. After installing that, you see all these things are installed already. That's why I'm not going into those. After that, you have to download the run and debugging extension, which is the Pylons for us in this case. You do this so that you are able to run your code for Python. Is that clear? So that's it. Once that is done, you're sure you're good to go. You create a file. For us now, the file is going to be um, data.py, right? We told you in class that you have to define the document, right? So one of the ways to do that is to add the connotation of the language um, to the keyword you've written as relative to what project you're working on. So you have to data.py. If it is if it is an HTML file you're working on, you have to have data.html. If it's a CSS file you're working on, you have to have data.css. All right, all these applies to all other languages. JS is the same for JavaScript. You have whatever it is .js, right? So the app, so the editor picks that, okay, you want to work on this document. So with this you can enter and what create the file. So here right now, you are in the space to code for Python, right? Now I'm going to be talking about a few things quickly: the introduction to Python, and we want to make we're not coding, so we want to have it in the comment section. So what you do is to make a comment in Python, you just have your hashtag and you're good to go. You start making your comment. So the first is introduction that I've been doing, the introduction to what? To Python, right? After which we talk about the syntax, right? We talk about comments. We'll talk about what again? We talk about variables. Talk about variables. We talk about data types. I think that will be fine. Data types, right? Talk about data types to place us on a good page. We talk about um, all right. With that, I think we'll get into others. In data types, we have subs uh, that we'll have to talk about. We'll have to talk about if else. Okay, if else for conditions, right? So if else, that's where we have to start thinking logically, right? We have the while loops. We have to talk about this, yeah, because for the first few projects, you will need all this while loops. Or we'll talk about what again? Okay, I think there are a couple of all those we're going to have to talk about. I can't just list all of those. We are sure to have them as we go at the course of the session, right? So to talk about okay, what do you? Let's do the quick introduction to Python. What is Python? Right. So that's the first question one would ask. What is Python? All right. So by way of introduction, Python is a popular programming language, right? That is created uh, to be user friendly. Of course, that's how I put it because you invariably um, will have to code using English. So it's quite friendly, right? So it is used for web development, it is used for software development, it's used for mathematics, it's used for system scripting, right? So let me add that to it so that you can take note of that too. It's used, it what? It is used for um, web development. Now, some of you don't even know what this is. What's web development? When you develop whatever it is you want to want it to sit on the World Wide Web, that's the act of web development, right? All right, so don't be confused. I'm just trying to play. Right, but I'm talking. There's something I've just said now. Take note. You build apps, website, whatever it is, it's going to sit on the World Wide Web, right? That's why it's called the web development, right? It's a space where we have to develop a lot of things to function there. Exactly. So we have the software. You can build softwares too with Python, right? Mathematics, you have a good mathematics. That's why you're going to go into machine learning. You will have to understand this. Okay. Some of you were actually looking out to see what will be done in the class today. I was just watching and laughing. Right? There's depth to every single thing you pick. Right? Learning doesn't stop. Take note. Okay, so this is it. These are the things you can use your Python for. It is used for web development, software, mathematics, system scripting, and the rest of all those. So, what can Python do? You may ask that question. Python can be used on server to create web application. Python can be used alongside software to create workflows. Python can connect to database system, right? We may try that with Excel. It can also read and modify files. That Excel will be perfect for us because we're going to be integrating Python to that and cause it to work excellently well. So Python can be used to handle big data and perform complex mathematics. We're going to be doing that. So, but in that case, in that regard, I'll be using Anaconda, right, with the Jupyter space, right? I'll be using Jupyter to do that, analyze a few data, and we'll be good. Right, so Python can be used to handle big data and perform complex mathematics. Python can be used for rapid prototyping, right? Or for production ready software development. So these are the things Python can do. Should you think of any, please you can mention, or should if you're asked of any of this, do well to mention that. So let's write our first Python statement. Okay. Or should we talk about the syntax first? Okay, let's talk about the syntax first because um like in English language, you have the grammar guiding every single thing you do. When you do not speak correctly, I think it's traced back to the use of the understanding of grammar, right? And a lot of things interplay in that case, right? So we have to take notes. The syntax is what is like for us in programming. right? So you have to understand the syntax for all the languages. I think I explained that in class today. So Python is actually designed to be readable, right, and user friendly. Okay, so Python uses new lines to complete a command, and there to suggest that when you see a colon, you know that you're going to start a new line of code or a new block of code. Okay, so Python also relies on indentation. By that I mean that you have to give spaces, right? You code randomly with Python, you're going to have a lot of error messages because it's not going to work. Python respects indentation, and the good side of this is that you decide how to indent. You decide what space to leave. All right. So the reason why Python relies on this is that the indentation define the scope, such as the scope of loops, functions, and classes. Other programming languages often use curly brackets for the purpose. So it's unlike the other programming languages where we have to use curly bracket, we have to use other things to define or to help indent. In this case, indentation is very important and it defines a new block of code, right, or function here right now. So it's key, very key. You miss it, you have to trace it because what you're doing it's not going to work. So let's write out our first line of code. Right, so we'll say print. Right, you see the image is also working here. Print um hello. Don't be confused. I'm going to explain every single thing you're seeing here. Hello world. Right, let's print this. Okay, so when you run this, because you have the pylons working here, run this. uh, let's run this and see. Yeah, run python file in terminal. Okay, yeah, run in terminal. All right, so you see that it has printed the result. Okay, sorry. There's world here. World is the okay. Run. Hello world. You've got your result down here, right? So you have the terminal. You can change the interface of this. You can change it this way, right? You can change it here to just have this. Change it to any one you want, right? If it is not um, clear, you can also increase. Uh, can also increase the latency or how this thing looks. Let's check reference. I guess that's where you can get that function. Or is the appearance now? Okay, let me get it wrong. Let's check this. Come on, please appearance. Okay, I'm not mean to. I'll remember. I think in the next video I will just add it up. How to bolden your code line so that it's legible enough for everyone to see. You're okay. It's fine. So that's just it for this, right? You've been able to print your first line of code. Hello world. Okay, so now let's talk about data types so that you understand what is playing out here. But in this class, I've been able to achieve the following. I've been able to achieve the following, right? I've shown you one, how to download Visual Studio Code, Visual Studio Code, right? So you don't have a problem with that. I've also shown you to to I've shown you how to download your Python, right? Three, shown you how to um, integrate your Python to the Visual Studio Code, integrating Python. Is that the right word for it? Okay. Or anyways, it's not English I'm speaking. Integrating Python to the Visual Studio Code. Note that there are many ways um, of doing this. Right. So far, I have been able to show you how to print your first Python line of code. You've been able to print or code now rather. Able to code with word Python, right? What's happening? All right. So this is what we've been able to achieve this with. I've told you what we'll be covering, right? Even though there are lots more we're going to do. Okay, so it's just for you to understand the basics, and then we'll start data analysis because you have a project to do. Okay, and those who are going to further into because you may need that for backend and the rest. We'll keep up, right? We'll continue. So this is it. See you in the next video. All right. Make sure you like and do all those.